If you struggle with recording or finishing your songs, then listen up because you might need to hear this. Time and time again, I come across people in my community that struggle with this, and one of the main reasons they say is because they feel overwhelmed. Sometimes, for whatever reason, we feel like we have to do something in a certain way to get a certain result. For example, using 5 different microphones, or using a certain piece of software, or using a certain plugin that's been highly regarded by professional musicians. But that is simply just not the case. And this is where we can sometimes go wrong in making something way more complicated than what it needs to be. Sometimes it's worth stepping back and giving yourself limitations in order to progress forward. A lot of the time when you're feeling overwhelmed and with all these decisions that you have to make when creating music, that sometimes it's worth just limiting yourself and keeping things a lot simpler. And sometimes I find by limiting the gear that we use, that then can make you even more creative with the limited resources that you have. And listen, I get it. I love using gear more than most people, and I know how inspiring and motivating it can be to get a new piece of gear or explore different complicated techniques or setup that can get your sound to that next level. But if that ever stops me from progressing forwards, or stops me from doing what I want to be doing, what I want to be getting done, which ultimately is writing and recording my own songs, then it's time to explore something different. And don't get me wrong, gear is important. I talk about it all the time on this channel. But it's important to get the right gear for you. And I personally would rather have one really good mic than a bunch of mediocre ones. Because I know that if I have to, I can use just one mic for everything. And I'm not talking about using this mic on a bunch of different takes and punching in and punching out on vocals and guitar to mush a song together. I'm talking about using one mic on one song, recording one take and no edits. If you're a singer-songwriter like me, then the most important thing, I believe, is the performance of the song, because that's the way you wrote it. And I really believe that my songs sound better when I record guitar and vocals together at the same time. There's something that I like to call performance-first recording, and this is where you focus on the performance above everything else in a recording. And I truly believe that if you focus on using less gear, keeping things simple, and focus on the performance of your recordings, then you'll feel way less overwhelmed. And hey, I know this type of recording is not for everyone. It's a very particular way of doing things, doing it all in one take. But the way I see things is I'm trying to capture a moment in time. And the best way to do that, I think, is to record everything in one go. And there's nothing against doing it the other way, recording everything separately and putting it all together step by step, you know, but you're just getting a different sound. It's a different way of doing things. And I might get some comments saying, hold on, Fabian, didn't you just use a bunch of pickups and pedals and have a really complicated setup the other day? Yes, I did. And that's something that I just like to go between, having a really complicated setup that's just over the top, and then just stripping it all back and having just a really, really simple, like one mic setup like this. And the difference is when I use that overly complicated setup, it doesn't stop me from progressing forward. If it did, then I wouldn't do it.
When we were young, we used to head down to the southern coast. What I enjoyed the most was the sun and the lovely sea. Fresh sea air, it smelled the best when the tide was out. We used to run and shout, release the bird in me. The memory of that feeling was so free.
Oh, and just as an example, I've been using this tiny camera for this entire video. And using this simple little camera has stopped these barriers that often get in my way, and it's forced me to get more creative with my shots. And I could have used this bigger camera with the fancy lens, but then I would have had to set up a tripod and then a microphone, and there's just a lot more involved. And it's the same when we're talking about music. If you find that there's these barriers that keep getting in your way, that stop you from progressing forward, then maybe you need to try something different. And try just stripping everything back. One microphone, one take, no edits. Don't worry about the mistakes. You know, just go through, just finish the song. Sometimes we just need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Finish the song and move forward. You might find that that's all you need to get you out of your rut, and then you can just keep progressing forwards from there. If you do try this out, then let me know how you get on in the comments down below. I always like to hear these stories. And by the way, if you didn't know, I have an amazing free community full of other singer-songwriter guitarists, and I invite you to join. So if you want to sign up for that, then use the first link in the description down below. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. Keep playing, keep writing, keep recording, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.
When we were young, we used to head down to the southern coast. What I enjoyed the most was the sun and the lovely sea. Fresh sea air, it smelled the best when the tide was out. We used to run and shout.